Hey everybody, welcome to Hearing God in First Peter chapter 2. And as we learned last time, First Peter is a circular letter meant to be circulated amongst churches, largely who are composed of believers who are struggling with persecution, hardship, suffering. And Peter is writing to encourage them to persevere, to be long suffering in the midst of that persecution. He's instructing them on how their behavior is to match their doctrine. And so in chapter 2, Peter writes about the kind of lives that Christians are to live in a society that is largely antagonistic toward Christians. And so my highlight for my Hear Journal this time was verse 23. It's talking about Jesus. And it says, when he was reviled, he did not revile in return. When he suffered, he did not threaten, but continued entrusting himself to him who judges justly. I think this is a really critical verse for us in light of the fact that we are all at some point in time going to be offended. We are all at some point in time going to run into people in our lives who hurt us. And how are we going to handle that? What are we going to do? And so that was certainly going to be true of these churches that Peter is writing to. It is certainly true for us today, and especially as we live in a culture that is increasingly antagonistic toward Christianity. This is going to be a situation that we face. And it's also just part of the human experience. We will be hurt, we will be offended. And so Peter says, Jesus is to be our example. He was humble. He was long suffering. He was kind. He was forgiving. He is the one, after all, who, while he was being crucified, said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And so, what is interesting and important to point out is that when Jesus was attacked, he did not seek personal vengeance. Instead, the verse tells us he trusted that God is going to take care of that. He trusted that God is ultimately going to make everything right. God is just. Justice will be done. Therefore, Jesus didn't feel the need to himself seek vengeance or to, in his own efforts, do what he thought in that instance was best. He entrusted himself and that situation to the Father. And unfortunately, for so many of us, we hold on to bitterness and unforgiveness and feel the need to seek vengeance against others. And that may not even be literally, physically so. We might just playing the mind game in our heads. We run down these rabbit holes where we just replay the situation and conversations that we want to have with that person, and we seek that out in our heads because ultimately we really don't trust that God is going to handle it. We don't really trust that God is going to make everything right. And therefore, we feel the need to take matters into our own hands. And I think what needs to be pointed out is that's idolatry. It's idolatry because we put ourselves in God's rightful place. We put ourselves on the throne instead of allowing God to be on the throne and to make everything right as he promised that he would. And so idolatry is a big deal. And so we need to be certainly sensitive to that. But it's also an offense to God because it questions his character. God has said that he would be just. God has said that he will make everything as it should be. But when we take matters into our own hands, when we hold on to bitterness and feel that we need to somehow seek vengeance, that's saying, God, I don't trust you. I don't believe that you are who you say you are or that you're going to do what you said you will do. And so that provides a big barrier to intimacy with God when we have those kinds of behaviors and thoughts in our heads. And so bitterness, unforgiveness is toxic. It's poison within us. It eats away at us. It gives the devil a foothold in our lives, and it's also a barrier to our intimacy with God. And so if it's not evident already, that's why forgiveness is such a really big deal. It's so important that we follow Jesus's example here. When he was reviled, he did not revile in return. When he suffered, he did not threaten, but continued entrusting himself to him who judges justly. And so, my response in my Hear Journal today, Father, please forgive me for my idolatry and for questioning your character. Please give me the courage, the strength of Jesus to be obedient and to forgive the way that Jesus forgave and the way that he forgives. And so I think another part of it is again understanding the gospel at work in our own lives and how much for which we have been forgiven, the offenses that God has forgiven us. Far be it from us to receive that kind of forgiveness, but not grant it to others as well. And so, anyway, may God make us more like Jesus. May we entrust ourselves to Him who, it says, judges justly, Him who will make everything the way it should be in the end, and we don't have to take matters into our own hands. Therefore, we can release it, we can give it to God, and let Him handle it. So, thank you so much for joining me today. Look forward to joining you next time with 1 Peter chapter 3.